Number 12. Alice Walton. Alice Walton is the heiress to the reins of one of the world's largest companies by revenue, Wal-Mart Incorporated. She is the 17th richest billionaire in the world with a net worth of $61.8 billion. That's more money than we could ever dream of. Walton was born in Newport, Arkansas in 1949. She was reared in Bentonville with her three brothers, Rob, John, and Jim. She's the only daughter of Sam Walton, which means, of course, she is the rightful beneficiary to the Wal-Mart fortune. Yes, that Walmart, the one you should avoid around Black Friday or the 4th of July. You know, you only make that mistake once in your life. Alice Walton has worked as an equity analyst, a money manager, a broker, and the president of an investment bank, and that's just a few. Unlike her brothers, though, she refuses to work for Walmart itself and instead chooses to curate at the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art, the art museum she just casually founded, as regular people do. She was the richest woman in the world in 2020. We wonder what she'll do next. Number 11. CHARLENE de Carvalho Heineken. CHARLENE de Carvalho Heineken is a Dutch-English entrepreneur who owns 25% worth of interest in Heineken International. Not like Breaking Bad, as in the world's second largest brewer. With a net worth of $16.3 billion, CHARLENE is the richest woman in the Netherlands. She wasn't always groomed to take over the company, though. Her great-grandfather Gerard Adrian Heineken began the firm about 150 years ago, and it was eventually passed down to her father, the long-standing CEO, Freddie Heineken. The heiress had been a stay-at-home wife to her investment banker husband and 5 children until her father passed away back in 2002, leaving her with a 23% stake in Heineken's holdings. Carvalho Heineken, as an only child, was compelled to take on the position due to the surrounding circumstances, which she has done admirably. She's shaken up the brewery's sinking stock since taking over, recruiting CEO Jean-Francois van Boxmeer and allowing acquisitions to strengthen Heineken's position in the market. Carvalho Heineken has stated how she sees her role as CEO as more of a guardianship, and that she'll groom her children to take over the company one day just like her. Currently, she is the Netherlands' wealthiest entrepreneur, serving as executive director of Heineken International, a post she has held for years now. Number 10. Miriam Adelson. Miriam Adelson is a physician with a bachelor's in microbiology as well as genetics, along with a not-too-shabby medical degree. Adelson is the wealthiest Israeli and the 36th richest person in the world, boasting a combined net worth of $38.2 billion. She was born back in 1945 in Tel Aviv, where she graduated from the Tel Aviv University. She's worked as a physician for a few years before founding a substance dependency center and research clinic in 1993. She didn't make her billions by being a doctor, though, if that's what you're wondering. I mean, her last name isn't unusual after all. She is the widow of Sheldon Adelson, the former CEO and chairman of mega conglomerate Las Vegas Sands. Sheldon bought the company in 1988 and developed it into a cross-continental, international casino behemoth that it is today, with locations in Pennsylvania, Macau, Singapore, and of course, Las Vegas. It's not unusual that he was worth $36.4 billion and was one of America's top 20 wealthiest people before his death. In fact, when he died in January 2021 at the age of 87, he left Miriam more than half of his $48 billion gaming empire. Adelson now controls a 56% stake in casino operator Las Vegas Sands, giving her a spot on our list. Number 9. Mackenzie Scott. Mackenzie Scott, previously known as Mackenzie Bezos, is the 22nd richest billionaire in the world. That ex-Bezos surname is, after all, very well acquainted with extreme affluency. Everyone has heard of her ex-husband Jeff, and you've most likely heard of her too. She is worth nearly $61.8 billion and is the only person on this list who did not inherit their wealth. Scott is best known for her past marriage and high-profile divorce from Jeff Bezos, which ended in the largest divorce settlement in history to date. Mackenzie, though, is also known for her talents in writing and most of all her generosity. Born in 1970 in the state of California, Mackenzie has always been an avid writer, claiming to have started writing seriously at the ripe age of 6. In 1992, she earned her bachelor's degree in English at Princeton University, where she studied under the Nobel laureate Toni Morrison. In 2005, she wrote her debut novel called The Testing of Luther Albright, which won her an American Book Award, and she later published a second novel in 2013. Mackenzie married Bezos in 1993. As one of Amazon's first workers, she had a big hand in early development. They divorced in 2019, and as part of the divorce settlement, Bezos transferred 25% of his Amazon holdings to Mackenzie, giving her 4% of the company. She is a signatory to the Giving Pledge, pledging to give away at least half of her wealth in her lifetime to charity. This is no small act, since she's already given away $2.8 billion in charitable donations in 2020 alone, making her ex look pretty bad if you ask us. Number 8. Julia Koch. Julia Koch was born as Julia Karts in 1962 and is the widow of David Koch, currently the 27th richest billionaire in the world with a net worth of $46.4 billion. She spent her early years farming and working for her parents' furniture store in Iowa, but in the 1980s she moved to New York and worked as an assistant to the well-known fashion designer Adolfo. But Julia did not make $43 billion working as an assistant. She and her 3 children inherited their fortune from her husband David Koch, who before his death was worth $53.4 billion, making him the 7th richest American in the country. Julia met David on a blind date in 1991, and they married in 1996 after dating for a couple of years. Julia and her 3 children received 42% ownership in Koch Industries after David's death in 2019 at the age of 79. With such a massive inheritance, Julia was catapulted to number 4 on a list of the world's richest women. Number 7. Francoise Bettencourt Myers. Francoise Bettencourt Myers is the heiress to the global makeup brand that is L'Oreal, and the current richest woman in the world, holding a net worth of $73.6 billion. So, who is she and why isn't she talked about more? To find out, we need to look into the background of her wealth. L'Oreal was formed in 1909 by Eugene Paul Louis Schuller, a pharmacist and entrepreneur who invented his own product and sold it to a hairdresser. In 1909, he registered his firm as Société Française des Teintures Inoffensives pour Cheveux, which would later become L'Oreal. He then had a daughter named Lillian Henrietta Charlotte Bettencourt, who had her own daughter, Francoise Bettencourt Myers. Now that you know the who part of the question, you still don't really know the how. What is the secret to making so much money just selling makeup? Francoise Bettencourt Myers acquired her fortune from her mother, Lillian Bettencourt, the world's richest woman of 2017, with whom she had a rocky relationship. She even went so far to file a criminal complaint against her mother's best friend. Remember, kids, don't call the cops on your parents or their friends, even if they're attempting to defraud your mother of millions of dollars. Snitches get stitches. End of story. Despite having a strained relationship, Francoise still inherited a fortune worth $56.8 billion following her mother's death, immediately putting her in the top 1% of the world's elite. On top of this, her family owns 33% of the shares in L'Oreal, one of the world's largest cosmetic chains. And if you're still amazed how she's so wealthy, please raise your hand. Nobody? We thought so. Francoise prefers to concentrate on her more charitable activities, the most well-known of these being her $226 million donation to rebuild the Notre Dame Cathedral following the fire in 2019, but that isn't her only flex. She is also the president and founder of the Foundation Bettencourt Schuller, a nonprofit organization dedicated to pushing boundaries of the arts and sciences. Hundreds of millions have been invested in medical research, the arts, education, and housing, with grants and awards given out on a regular basis for achievement in those sectors. She manages to do all of this while remaining chairwoman of the L'Oreal Board of Directors, a post she has held since 1997. That's a lot of work for someone with that kind of money, but her attitude is undoubtedly the reason she stayed as one of the world's richest women. Number 6. Abigail Johnson. Abigail Pierpont Johnson is an American businesswoman worth $16.1 billion. She is a third-generation heiress of Fidelity Investments, a privately held mutual fund firm created by her grandfather, Edward C. Johnson. But uniquely, she is the first woman to take over its reins. Abigail is one of the most powerful women in the finance field, with a net worth of $16.1 billion. She has quickly shaken things up at Fidelity Investments since becoming CEO in 2014 and chairwoman in 2016, pushing away from the traditional open-end mutual funds and further developing the millennial-friendly zero-fee index products. In 2018, the company embraced cryptocurrency as well by introducing a trading platform for Ether and Bitcoin. She is also noted for her strong commitment to making the workplace she runs a welcoming place for women by encouraging equal hiring practices and increasing awareness about sexual harassment. Currently, she's married to Christopher John McCown and has 2 children with him. Talk about a powerful woman. Number 5, Susanne Klatten. This 56-year-old mother of 3 and German-born businesswoman owns more than 19% of BMW. Not just one, but the world's largest luxury automaker, which also owns the Mini Cooper as well as the Rolls-Royce brand. She is worth $20.3 billion, but her brother, Stefan Quandt, controls more than 23% of the company. Suzanne's entrepreneurial success is not just dependent on the family's primary business. Her focus has shifted over the years to Altana AG, a pharmaceutical company created by her grandfather that she has pushed into becoming a world-class recognized brand. She is the chairman and sole owner of Altana AG, which has sales revenues of $2.5 million each year. Her first husband was Jan Klatten, with whom they had 3 children together, although they are currently divorced. What's next for Suzanne? Only time will tell. Number 4, Laurene Powell Jobs. Laurene Powell Jobs is an American businesswoman and the founder of Emerson Collective, a social impact group that campaigns for policies related to education, immigration reform, social justice, environmental protection, and much more. She has a net worth of $23.3 billion and is also the co-founder and president of College Track, an organization that helps disadvantaged high school students prepare for college enrollment. Powell Jobs, the wife and heir of Steve Jobs, who you might have heard of, the co-founder and former CEO of Apple Incorporated, lives in Palo Alto, California with her 3 children. Laurene has always lived in the shadow of her late husband, and she prefers to keep it that way. She was left with a high-profile fortune connected to her name, though, after Steve's untimely death at the age of 56. A fortune to take care of while grieving the loss of her husband, being the lone parent to her children, and dealing with a spotlight she would much rather avoid. Since then, Laurene has made her own path as a philanthropist, which many are unaware of. The Emerson Collective is her most important project. The organization was established in 2004 and operated in low-profile manner. Fast forward to the present day, though, and while Lowell's net worth is still largely defined by her late husband's business, she's also building a reputation for herself through philanthropy efforts. Number 3, Jacqueline Mars. Jacqueline Mars is the daughter of Forrest Mars and the granddaughter of Frank C. Mars, the founder of Mars Incorporated. If you haven't heard of it, it's the world's largest confectionery company, which makes M&M's, Snickers, as well as pet food brands like Pedigree, Whiskers, and more. Up until 2016, Jacqueline worked for the company for nearly 20 years and served on the board of directors. She currently owns 1/3 of the business, with the remaining 2/3 owned by other close family members. Despite her wealth, Jacqueline keeps a quiet profile and also serves on the board of directors of the Smithsonian Institute outside of her work with Mars Incorporated, and she has a total net worth of $31.3 billion. But she couldn't avoid the spotlight after a car accident in 2013 when her vehicle left its lane and collided with a minivan, killing one person and causing a miscarriage to another. She pleaded guilty when toxicology tests came up negative, and just like that, her name has been associated with this gruesome incident. Number 2, Gina Reinhardt. When Gina Reinhardt took over as chairwoman of Hancock Prospecting, a mineral exploration and extraction company founded by her father Lang Hancock, the company was in serious trouble. It only had $56 million left in assets, which sounds like a lot, but it didn't include debts and liabilities that threatened to bankrupt her and the business. Reinhardt, against all odds, made it through and became the owner of big mines such as Roy Hill. She invested the profits from Hancock into other enterprises, purchasing the media company 10 Network Holdings and multiple cattle farms, making her the United States' largest cattle producer. She had amassed 23 million acres, which is larger than Australia, by the way, making her the country's largest landowner too. Her current net worth is $23.6 billion US. Number 1, Yang Huiyan. Yang Huiyan owns 57% of Country Gardens Holdings, a real estate development firm that most people have never heard of, but the firm's annual income is anticipated to be $33.8 billion. Yan Guoquan, Yang's father, handed a substantial chunk of Yang's share over to her in 2007. Yang's younger sister Ziying is also a member of the Country Gardens board of directors. Yang is also the chairman of Bright Scholar Education Holdings, a Chinese education corporation that went public on the New York Stock Exchange back in 2007. She graduated internationally with a bachelor's degree from Ohio State University and has a current estimated net worth of $29.6 billion. Not too shabby. Thanks for watching. Which of these richest women in the world are you most inspired by? Do you think they deserve their wealth? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit subscribe for more. See you next time on The Bad Badger.